Hi, I'm Joe Sully and I'm the area coordinator for printmaking. So I'm going to give you a tour of the print centre just to show you some of the main studios and some of the principal methods that are available in each. So we're beginning here in etching, which is the main area I instruct in myself. Etching historically is known for its very linear qualities, being onto this Perspex sheet, so the advantage of it being transparent. You can scribe directly into the surface, and these are the areas that will directly hold ink. So a characteristic of etching or intaglio printmaking is that the image is incised down beneath the surface of the plate. And then that's filled with ink and ran through the press under great pressure, which will show you the plate being printed in a second. The principal tonal method in etching involves the use of aquatint, which is an acid-resistant resin which is placed over the surface of the copper plate, enabling you to then achieve a tonal range on the bitten into the surface of the copper.
Here's a copper plate that I drew on my lunch break using a selection of twigs and needles. I've come back and I've put it in some acid, and you can see where the acid has bitten down into the lines. I've forced ink onto the plate and I'm just finishing wiping, and I'll just take a proof on this in a moment. I'm just going to place my plates onto the bed of the press, and I've pre-soaked some paper. And the paper is dampened so that the fibres are all relaxed, so that when it goes through the press under the pressure, it forces it into the incised lines that have been made with the acid.
Another technique that's possible in this area is colograph, which involves the construction usually of a card or a paper block, so materials collaged onto the surface to achieve a range of texture and different heights of material, which will hold ink in a different way when inked in a similar way to an etched plate and then ran through the etching press under great pressure. I'll take you through to lithography.
Okay, so traditionally lithography was done on limestone, particularly quarried from Bavaria due to its porous qualities. You would draw on the stone with a selection of greasy materials and process that with gum arabic and nitric acid. So we have that facility here at Bar Ashton. Here are some examples of prints from this process. So as you can see, one of the benefits from using stone lithography is that it's really closely related to the hand-drawn. You're directly drawing onto the lithographic stone, and you can get these really beautiful gestural marks. This is a photo plate lithography. This kind of overtook stone lithography, and it's really good for registration, so you can make multiple plates and get them perfectly aligned. So this is a sheet of aluminium that has a light sensitive emulsion on that is then exposed using ultraviolet light in the dark room. So here's some examples of plate lithography. Then you draw on mark resist, and then you'd bring the film work into either me or Phil, and we would then expose that onto a plate for you. Again, you can see the different types of marks that can be achieved through this process. This is an example of how to print a lithographic plate. I'm using a sponge to keep the plate wet, and then I will use oil-based ink on a roller to roll over the surface of the plate. And this shows that the principles of lithography is that oil and water do not mix. So I'm using the offset press, which will pick up ink from the plate, offset onto the blanket, and then down onto the paper. The perks of using this process is that you can work in a positive way and not have to reverse the image.
So etching and lithography, two of the great graphic print methods. So now we're through to screen printing, which is further down the length of the C-block corridor.
Screen printing is a water-based process using acrylic inks that we push through a screen. Basically, it's a stencil-based process, so it's very quick, and we can get lots of marks, like hand-drawn marks or photographic marks, and it has a really lovely quality, and also we can use lots of beautiful colours. So we start with a hand-drawn positive and that's just a drawing onto a piece of clear acetate. We expose those onto the screen, and then they're printed separately, one by one, in different colours until you achieve a 3-colour print like this. One is a 4-colour separation, which means we're printing cyan, yellow, magenta and black to get all the full colours of a photographic image. It's very easy to include text on an image, so we can work with that as well. These are all examples of printing on paper, but you can print on other things such as perspex, wood, concrete, really anything that is flat. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to make a screen print. I've got my acrylic paint mixed with screen print medium in here, so I've got a lovely colour. I'm going to put the ink down onto the screen there. And then the first thing we do is flood the screen with a layer of ink, and I'm going to push hard and pull down at the same time. So that's the print.
So I'm going to leave screen printing and go to see one more area, which is relief printing at the end of the C-block corridor. Board here with members of staff and their working days and times not tight. So this is relief printing, where principally lino cut blocks or wood blocks can be printed on these Arbin presses. So I'll just ink up a piece of this lino and show you the print that comes from it. So with relief printing, it's really the opposite of etching in that in this case a print is taken from the surface of the block, so the ink applied to the surface level rather than the incision that's been cut down in. This is a piece of lino that's been engraved in by hand with some engraving tools, and this portrait here you see cut in, and it's going to be the high spot here, the high surface of the lino, which will be the area that it's covered in ink and then transferred onto the paper. So we're looking to just apply quite evenly and gradually an area of flat black using this roller. So passing in different directions over the surface of the block. So I place the lino on the surface of the press, and then the paper placed over the top, and then we just bring this tympan down and just roll through so it's underneath the platen here, and then really just pull across. And that's really just taken the ink from that surface that I've rolled on previously. So here are some prints taken from wood blocks, and you can see the characteristic of the wood grain shown and the cut mark picked up by the grain of the wood. And then maybe a smoother cut achieved with lino cut blocks. Okay, finally I just need to mention a little bit about access to the area. I mean, maybe that your program books you onto a formal session to one or more of the print areas, or that you come to find or express an interest in a process yourself. If you do this, you need to ensure that you book a press bed, for example, via one of the student project coordinators. So access to that system will be explained to you via your program, but it's important to ensure you book a press bed and the instructor's time. Maybe you have a consultation in advance of coming into the area, where an instructor can explain to you anything you might need to prepare in advance. So I do hope you find your way into printmaking. It's a great way of disseminating information and printing multiples. So stay safe, and don't forget,